How big is the Church of Scientology?
The Church of Scientology consists of 8,000 churches, missions, and affiliated groups in 165 countries.
And how many members does it have?
We count our membership in the millions. Millions in the U.S. and millions more abroad would be a safe figure.
It is an enormous commercial enterprise, isn't it?
No, it's a religion. It's a large international religion that is exactly that, a religion.
But it makes an awful lot of money.
Well, the church is definitely the beneficiary of its parishioners and people who feel strongly about their religion and choose to give back to it and give to the planet as a result. I think really when you're discussing the subject of donations, I think the most important thing is that what is the money being used for? And in our case, it's for new churches. It's for our ability to provide places in the communities in which we operate to be a part of the community. Not just our churches aren't just for Scientologists. Our churches are for the communities in which they operate, and in which case you have our huge and very successful anti-drug programs and our human rights programs and the volunteer ministers who respond in times of disaster. They were very active in the brush fires in Australia and provided an enormous public service. And these are the kinds of things that Scientologists are giving towards and supporting by virtue of their donations.
But would it be fair to say that from its donations the church makes hundreds of millions of dollars a year?
The church certainly spends on the order of millions and millions of dollars on its social mission, on building new churches, on having facilities that are there for the community, and for example, on our anti-drug programs and the different things that we support. We're able to put a lot back into the community and back into the facilities that we have for our parishioners and for the communities that we're in.
Can I talk to you about, or ask you about children? Why do you recruit children into the Sea Org?
Actually, we don't. It's
well, there are parents out there who would say you do. The Andersons, for example, would certainly say that you've done that.
Okay. Well, in their individual case, fine. The fact of the matter is that the church doesn't discriminate against people by virtue of age. I think the key thing when you're talking about anyone who is, for example, a minor in the United States that would be under the age of 18, the key thing is that individual getting an education? Is it a proper education by acceptable standards in developed countries? Are they taken care of? Are their parents aware of where they are and what they're doing and how they're getting along in life and all those kinds of things? And whenever it comes to anyone who's under the age of 18, those would be some of the most important and relevant issues. And as regards anybody under the age of 18 who happens to be a member of the Sea organization, which would be not very many people, but sometimes you have families that choose to join the church's religious order, and that includes younger children who would have to themselves want to be part of the religious order, or if someone under the age of 18 chooses to join, they would have to have their parents' permission if they weren't joining together with their parents. And these are the kind of things that we would observe, and most certainly with regards to any regulations in the workplace for minors, those are always faithfully abided by, by the church as relates to, whichever country the church might be operating in.
Why do you make these children work such long hours?
Which children and what hours?
Well, Jordan Anderson, just one example, told us that as a teenager she once worked 72 hours straight for the Sea Org without sleeping.
Well, if that is actually the case, that would be utterly and completely unacceptable. I think for anybody, because that's an awful long time to work without sleeping. I can tell you that it is absolute long-standing and enforced church policy that any and all regulations with regards to individuals under the age of 18 as relates to the workplace, including acceptable hours of work, including time off, the types of jobs that are appropriate for people under the age of 18 to be engaged in, all of those things are observed and stringently observed by churches of Scientology. And to the degree that they weren't, or possibly in this case what you're describing to me wasn't in the past, that's unacceptable. And I don't consider that to be okay, and no executive in the church now would consider that to be okay.
What is the RPF?
The Rehabilitation Project Force is a program within the church's religious order whereby Sea Org members who burn out on their jobs or are failing or incapable of or not performing well in their functions can be given the voluntary opportunity to have a period of reflection, rehabilitation, redemption, making of amends within the religion as an alternative to being expelled from the church's religious order.
So it's a punishment, in fact?
Absolutely not. The Rehabilitation Project Force is one of the oldest religious traditions.
The descriptions we've had include descriptions such as prison camp or slave camp. Those are just two of the descriptions. You seem to be poles apart on that.
Absolutely. I mean, anybody who would describe the Rehabilitation Project Force in those terms is somebody who's literally just out to get the church and is out to attack the Sea Organization. You have to realize that people who would leave the Sea Organization and turn around and attack it in the media, they're attacking their friends. They're attacking people that they lived and worked with.
We've been told that those in the RPF are segregated from other staff. Why is that?
People who are doing the Rehabilitation Project Force are definitely on their own program, in their own space, in their own facilities, because that's the purpose of the program. Similar to other religious orders, it's something that is part of the program, and that they are doing it as for the purposes of rehabilitation. There seems to be some sort of confusion about this, and I think it's easiest explained in this way. Somebody who goes to Rehabilitation Project Force is doing so voluntarily. They're there because they want to be. In some cases they're there as an alternative to being expelled from the church's religious order, or in some cases members of the Sea Organization choose to and originate and volunteer and approach church staff and say, you know, I'd actually like to take a break, take some time off and go and do the Rehabilitation Project Force. It's something that is held in high regard by members of the Sea Organization. People who have done the program are respected. And people who are on the program are given respect and are given the time and the ability and the resources to be able to take responsibility for or deal with whatever it is that they want to deal with.
What is routing out?
It's a sort of a short-form way. That's a short-form way to describe the process by which somebody goes through to leave the Sea Organization.
It can take a very long time, though, can't it?
I'm sorry?
It can take a very long time.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. Per policy, it shouldn't. It can take anywhere from weeks to months.
It involves grilling the person wanting to leave, interrogation,
Absolutely not.
The security check.
No.
It involves asking
no
them to sign a waiver. Isn't that true?
In some cases, there's a separation agreement, a legal agreement that's signed, that some people, when they leave the Sea Organization, do sign.
Why do you let them just walk out the door and leave?
Because that's not our tradition. Our tradition is if somebody is a dedicated member of the Sea Organization, then the process of leaving would have to be done according to the codes and the ethics and the mores of the Sea Organization, which is something that Sea Org members are very, very aware of when they become. But by the same token, it is according to L. Ron Hubbard and the policy laid out for the Sea Organization, it's not something that should take a long time. And if people want to leave, they should definitely not be held onto. They should be allowed to leave, and they are.